People want to feel good in their skin, Conor. People want to feel good for being them. They want to feel like you accept them for who they are and that they can explore who they are. And fundamentally, most human beings, we're looking for that notion of happiness, joy. I'll call it joy for now because we did a bunch of research on that. And so for me, big mission when I joined Ulta Beauty was understanding with this responsibility, what can one do with such a responsibility? Well, you can shape how people feel about the category in a way that serves their mission, not your mission, their mission. And that fundamentally is to find those moments of joy in the everyday.
Explore the minds and marketing strategies behind today's winning brands and businesses. Tap into the power of the creator economy with Earned by Creator IQ. Here's Conor Begley.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earned. Today I've got Michelle, the CMO of Ulta on. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's lovely to see you, Conor.
And I am so excited for today's show. I think you are a lightning bolt in a bottle, so this should be fun.
You're so funny. I'll take that.
It's a good thing. It's definitely a compliment. Well, let's start off. I want to get into your background. I want to go through your history, but I do think you're at a very interesting time in that you're a year in, right? So you've taken on this CMO role at Ulta. Ulta is one of the best known brands in the world. I'm curious, as you reflect on being a year in, what worked? What didn't work? Like, how much were you able to accomplish that you thought you'd be able to accomplish when you came in? Yeah, tell me about the first year.
It's a great question. Well, it's been a fabulous year of business results and a fabulous year for the people side of the business too. But here's what was a big surprise for me, Conor. I grew up in beauty care, and then I left for 10 years, right? And I went into consumer tech. I was amazed that despite all the changes in the beauty care industry, how easy it was to jump back in to something, because I'd grown up in it. That was, like when you grow in something from your 20s. And also my husband worked in beauty care. So I guess I could always, for the last 10 years, I was always like tracking with him. That was probably one of the biggest paths when I was like, I'm meant to be here. I am meant to be back in beauty care. I can't believe I left it so long to return back to my dream category. So that was the kind of like big aha for me. A second aha, and we always talked this in my past life, how we had a responsibility to really change consumers' lives. It was always a big thing for P&G, touch and improving consumers' lives. When you are the largest beauty retailer and you have a lot of Gen Zers and now Gen Alphas coming through your doors, you have a responsibility to shape beauty so it's a force for good for all. And all these little girls and boys who are experiencing beauty for the first time have a healthy relationship with beauty. And I have the weight on my shoulders, which I'm glad it's me, because I'm a mom with 2 kids and I know the responsibility I have. And that was something I was like, oh, wow, that is major. And it's something that I can feel a huge sense of purpose. So those were 2 things that took me by very positive surprise and really, I would say, spurred me on to do even better.
What are some of the big missions there? So if I love that to start out. Let's start with that. Kind of feeling this weight of responsibility. So what are some of the things that you think about as like, these are some of the ways that we can positively impact the world in a pretty meaningful way?
Yeah. So we got to understand every category, every industry has a different role in a consumer's life, their heart and their mind. What do we occupy? Beauty has often been used as a means to unleash yourself, as a means to empower you. Okay. And empowerment looks very different for different beauty enthusiasts. It might look different from a boomer, from a Gen Alpha boy that wants to explore. So for me, it was about getting really close to our guests and understanding what did they want from beauty. And what we're seeing, right? Everyone wants different things. That's the classic notion of marketing is knowing your consumer, print prospection, digital marketing. But there's a bigger thing. There's a bigger thing. People want to feel good in their skin, Conor. People want to feel good for being them. They want to feel like you accept them for who they are and that they can explore who they are. And fundamentally, most human beings, we're looking for that notion of happiness, joy. I'll call it joy for now because we did a bunch of research on that. And so for me, big mission when I joined Ulta Beauty was understanding with this responsibility, what can one do with such a responsibility? Well, you can shape how people feel about the category in a way that serves their mission, not your mission, their mission. And that fundamentally is to find those moments of joy in the everyday. The everyday for a beauty enthusiast is you try the latest Charlotte Tilbury, lip stain. That's what I it's a bright color for me, Conor, but it makes me feel good. It gives me a little bit of joy in the moment. Or I use Olaplex today and it helped me with my hair and I'm having a good hair day. So maybe Charlotte from Olaplex will disagree. She'll be like, yeah, you should have styled it this way and that way. But it's the thing, Conor, beauty has an inherent mission to help people enjoy their lives. That's what it fundamentally comes down to for me and for Ulta Beauty.
One of the other things I've observed about the beauty industry, because we work across, all these different categories, is this kind of sense of community that exists both at a kind of executive level, but even, all the way down at a consumer level. I think it's something where there's just these very large communities that exist that are very, very passionate. I'm curious for you as Ulta, what are some of the ways that you engage with those communities to bring that joy, right? To bring joy to their lives?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about it, but for the listeners who don't know Ulta Beauty, they probably don't know we're the largest beauty chain, right? They don't know that probably. And they don't know we're in 50 states and we've got under 1,400 doors. So with that comes one of the biggest loyalty programs in the country. That's what comes with that when you're that size of a beauty specialty. So we have over 42 million loyalty members that are active. 42 million. That's in one country alone. And I know many other brands would love to have that globally. So community really starts with your shoppers that are guests. We call them guests, not shoppers or consumers. Our guests are interacting with us every day. And so for us, we rebranded our loyalty program this year. We spruced it up. We immersed a little bit more love in there. We gave them beauty birthday gifts that they could have, that they could select from a number of choices. These sort of things may sound small scale, may sound tactical. They're not. When you have 42 million and growing, you got to find ways to bring joy. And this was a way for us to bring joy. So we're very active in our loyalty program. And as a marketeer, we're developing campaigns for our members. We give our members VIP access to certain steals. We give them access to special content. So that's just one pillar, right? The most obvious one is, what do you do in social media? What are you doing EMV? They're like, and this is what you're an expert in, and how do you help us marketeers think bigger and different about this? But social media for us and using our influencers and our content creators and our associates. My associates, I have over 52,000, depending on the month, could be 55, could be 53,000 associates. So just imagine having 50,000 people working in store that are your ambassadors, your influencers and content creators. And so I piloted and launched a program where those associates could create content for Ulta Beauty and for the brands that we work with. We have over 600 brands. So when you have 600 brands, right, there's a lot of placement. And so 50,000 people helped me get the word out there. They helped me get the word out there. And so I'm really excited about what we've done there. And you've seen the work, the work that Christine and the team are doing and the lovely things that we're doing. We're really dialing up and being much more playful. We've created things like Ulta Math, because when you have this big loyalty program, there's a little bit of a myth about being able to Ulta Math your way to get a Dyson for free. It's a thing, Conor. You want a Dyson. And, and we help people, and there's loads of viral content. It talks about, well, if you get these points and you get your discount this day, then your Dyson will only cost you $20. And they just love it. So now it's very, very exciting. I will say as well, Conor, for those who work in loyalty programs, and I had done so before. So when I tell you the stat really is meaningful, 96% of our sales come from our members. 96. That's why you focus on your members. That's why you grow your loyalty program, because 96% of your sales will come from there. So if you grow that size of the pie, then the sales will follow. So yeah, community is a big deal for us. I'm actually excited about, and I can't share in a podcast what we're thinking of, but I'm excited about what we're middling on and for 2024. So we can take it to the next level, really. Think about our content creators, our collectives. We want to do more and we want to be even more agile. And when there's cultural moments, jumping in. And when there's not a cultural moment, creating a cultural moment. So yes, that's what I think about when it comes to community.
Yeah. I think what's funny is I just spoke at an event on Monday and Ulta spoke right after me and they said that stat, they said 95%, but 95, 96, whatever it is. That is such a crazy number to have 96% of your revenue come from loyalty members. Like that just feels like uncommon. Like that can't, I don't know. It's just nuts.
Well, you get what you focus on. First thing we talk about, how's our members doing this week? How's our tiers doing? It really is like there's discipline and due diligence when it comes to your members. How are members feeling about this event? How are members feeling about this change in the guest experience? All of this comes full circle, and that's what you become focused on. Once upon a time, I used to work in the brand side, not the retailer side. And when you're at the brand side, you talk about consumer research. You talk about doing a focus group or whatever, shop alongs. And at the time, they felt very meaningful. They felt real. But the reality is your members, they'll tell you direct how they feel, Conor. They'll tell you straight, I don't like that gift card. Don't like that points deal. And we listen because actually we're there to serve them. That's our mission, right?
What are the challenges? Because again, like you said, your background has been more on the brand side, right? Whether it was Procter & Gamble or Samsung, et cetera. What are kind of different about the challenges of being a multi-brand retailer that has 600 different brands that they all want to get more shelf space, get more airtime, get more coverage? What are the challenges in kind of managing that part of the business?
Yeah, well, funny, I would never look at it as a challenge. I personally jumped into retail excited because it was different. Here's what's different from working in a brand. Of course, I've got a North Star. We know we want to do it in the next 3 to 5 years. That's a publicly listed company, has responsibilities and judiciary. That's great. We have that in abundance. But we also have in abundance the ability to toggle between day-to-day business and long-term business. And if you've grown up in marketing and you've had global, regional, local experience, small brands, big brands, you will thrive in that type of environment because that requires a different discipline of toggling, being able to think that way. So if I get sales reports at one point of the day and it's not doing well or it's doing great, I go into action. I'm thinking about how do I amplify that or how do I mitigate that? And it's a very dynamic environment, which is very exciting. There's also another point. I think you have to be, when you're in a retailer of 600 brands, you're the ultimate brand builder. Because maybe people work in 2 or 3 brands. When I was in PG, I worked on like 17 brands at one time. That was kind of hard, 17, because you're just focused on the P&L of those brands. Here, we're very lucky. We have brand partners that have a vision for what their brands stand for. They know what their unique value prop is. Our job is to really help amplify their storytelling and showcase it to the guest. So that excites me, that all of the experience we've had over the years, all the experience we see in the market today, best practices, we're able to really help our brand partners think differently and really start developing their brands, thinking about the assortments they should have, their launch plans, their price points, their communications. Now, they all want that, but they love advice from Ulta Beauty. They love it because they know that we see over 2,000 brands a year and we select 600 to be in our space. So that would be something else. There's another thing about retail that doesn't exist in other parts, and that's we have a retail media network. So, and by the way, not all retailers do, right? Only a handful do, but we have UV Media. And UV Media, so for those who don't understand, is basically I've got first-party data and I have all my brand partners and they're saying, well, if I were to buy my media through you, we could laser target your members that we know have the highest affinity to our brand. And that's what we do. That is a completely different business model. And so that is exciting. That is growing phenomenally because we have major partners that are also media experts themselves. And when we take their insights, our insights, and our member data, we create really impactful initiatives and communications. So I'm trying to think of anything else, but really, it really comes down to that.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about kind of retailers as media businesses, right? Everybody's becoming a media entity in some ways or a media brand in some ways. But I think if you were to look at, say, Amazon, right? Like one of the fastest growing kind of channels they have is advertising. That's like one of the fastest growing parts of their business is the advertising they do on Amazon.com. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that from an Ulta perspective.
Yeah. 42 million.
Yeah.
42 million loyalty members. And they tell me exactly what they love.
So I'm curious, like, to kind of take a step and start talking about you a little bit, right? So we've talked about Ulta quite a bit and what the plans are there. But I think that if we were to look at your background, it's also similarly fascinating. So one of the things I thought was curious was you had started a weekly CMO newsletter a bit ago, maybe a year or two ago. What inspired you to start doing that? And then I think secondarily, like, I've started my own publishing journey that's been going really well. You know, have you been encouraging kind of your executive team to start publishing themselves more too?
Well, I talk about it as it depends why you do it, right? The why I do it is that I'm a firm believer in progress and in growth. And growth comes when you do things you feel uncomfortable. I do not like my own writing style. I have never liked to write. And I was challenging myself. Well, then you got to do more of it and you got to do it publicly. So that was kind of scary. So every time I press publish, I'm a nervous wreck, Conor. I don't enjoy it, but I'm actually doing it out of, and there's also another thing as well. I want to teach my own kids. Like I teach marketing to my organization. I want to teach my own kids and I want to document these things. And so I do have a bigger purpose about helping my kids. And, you know, sometimes I sideline my kids. Hey, let's go and review this creative work. And this is how you do it. As I have a 10 and 12-year-old that think they know how to write a creative brief now and stuff like that. But there is a bigger mission there. Teach people. I'd also teach yourself a little bit about how to write better and how to think differently. Because once you start writing, and I guess you've seen this as well, you start emerging with frameworks. You start to structure your thinking differently so that it is easy to understand. And therefore, not only do others recall it, you recall it better. So it's like a full circle. Now, I don't encourage anyone to do it. I think everyone has their own path and own journey for what is growth for them, you know, personal and corporate. But I definitely do believe in sharing the narrative of what is important for your company and for yourself. And so for me, I try and marry that up. It's not so much about Michelle. It's about Michelle in this moment in Ulta Beauty and the unique role that Ulta Beauty has in the world and has in the beauty industry and has in our guest lives.
Yeah, I think the idea of kind of clarifying your own thinking and clarifying things that you talk about all the time and putting it into frameworks that make sense is one of the things that I've gotten the most value out of it, right? It's just like it forces you to really write down in clear, concise material the way that you think about the world. And then you have that as an asset forever, right? You can always go back and reference that. And it's so valuable. Similarly, when I first started, was very nervous about hitting publish. When I was young, I used to hate having peer reviews, hate having people read my stuff and provide feedback. But once you get into a rhythm, it becomes easier and easier, I found, for sure.
Definitely, definitely. But it's weird, doesn't it? You get feedback and well, I really thought differently as a result of your writing. And you're like, I had an impact. It's kind of humbling, I would say. Very humbling.
Yeah, I had somebody send me a message, one of the GMs from a brand that we don't even work with, saying that I was like her New York Times column that she reads every day. And I was like, wow, like that's pretty cool. It's fun when you get that kind of feedback. And she ain't
wrong, Conor. I love what you publish personally. And I often send it to other people as well. So it's great that you do what you do. I really feel educated and informed every time I read something from you. So it's great that you're doing that because you're raising up the next generation of thought leaders in the space.
That's definitely the goal, I think, right? To kind of help. I've been really pushing other people to do it more too, that I know, that I'm connected with, because I just think there's a lot of value. So let's talk a little bit about, I think it's probably become clear to others, and that's how I led off the show, but I think that you are an incredible source of energy, right? And I know that at times, with that being said, at times, I often get that same kind of labeling, but sometimes I actually feel like I'm almost too much positivity, right? And it feels like it can almost be the wrong approach. From your perspective, how do you manage times in which maybe things aren't going well and you want to be positive, but you also don't want to come across as inauthentic? How do you kind of navigate that?
Well, first of all, I think the big change I've seen in my own journey is authenticity. Different companies have different expectations of leaders. And being in a P&G world for 16 years and at Samsung for a very long time, then coming to Ulta Beauty, none of the cultures were the same there. The only thing that is constant is you. And people hire you. They don't hire you to be a mirror image of their culture. And so I made a very big effort, I would say in the last maybe 5 years, to show up as me. And so, Conor, that's why you get this type of energy from me. It's a little bit more informal. It's a little bit more, it is more upbeat because genuinely that's how I want to be as an individual and as a leader. I personally have always been very direct and transparent. From the accent, you can tell I'm Scottish. It's actually a cultural nuance. We have always valued Scottish people as direct talkers. We like that. Now, of course, there's ways of doing it in a respectful way. And that's, that's something that I've probably smoothed over in my years of P&G and Samsung and now Ulta Beauty. But I think if you can't be yourself, it must be so energy draining. Really must be. So if you're not feeling good about results and you want to share it, I think you should share it. There. I think you should say it. I don't feel good about these results. Team, help me understand, am I missing something? So the answer always lies in the question, really. And I think that's what I figured out in the last 5 years of my late 40s is that you don't know the answer. Other people will know the answer. Just ask the question. And often the question, most things emerge themselves. You don't have to state it. And so for me, that's something I work on there. And there's another thing as well. I think energy is something that you have to curate and manage. So you're fortunate, Conor, you don't have the dynamics that some women do. Not all. I personally, for 3 or 4 days every month, my hormones don't work with me. They're working against me. They're plummeting and it makes me more tired and cranky. So I need to be aware. There's 4 days I'm not going to be my optimal. I sleep better those 4 days. I make sure I eat healthier. I drink more water. And I realize there are many variables that impact your mood. Many variables. And the minute someone's mood is not at a space where they want it to be, they need to ask themselves basic questions. Did I sleep well last night? Have I eaten well? And am I drinking enough water? Or maybe have you got 10 minutes of sunlight? A lot of people don't do the sort of walks in the morning and get some natural sunlight. So for me, I'm very, very intentional about curating energy. Can't do this job if you're low energy. Can't do this job if you have a pessimistic outlook. Because people, and by the way, you won't be able to see this, but this is funny. This is a little post-it note I have. And what it says, and it's got my lamp here, inspire, build confidence, and have fun. And that's what I think my job is to do for my people, is to inspire them. It's to help them grow and to help them have fun so they love the job that they do. So I'm going to bring my A game, Conor. Going to bring the A game. There is no tired Michelle. There is no grumpy Michelle. The A game needs to come. And that takes real discipline. So for instance, during the week, don't go to bed late. Don't drink alcohol if you don't need to. And eat really healthy. So I try and be in bed for 9 p.m. and I'm up at 5 a.m. And I'm reading all my books. I've got a big bookshelf here. I'm journaling, trying to learn. And I read a lot on leadership and stoicism. So that's personally where I navigate to. So that's how I get around that. That's a long-winded answer to your very specific question, sorry. But I think there's a lot you could pack into that.
I don't think this is where the question started, but I think what you got into there that I really like was, in a lot of ways, is leadership, right? And I think that when I did my research on you, that really stood out in terms of the way that people perceived you, right? The way that they talked about you. Like the quotes that I had here was, she's one of the best natural leaders I've ever worked for. Michelle has impressed me with her extraordinary leadership skills. Michelle is a fantastic and very supportive senior leader. And I think a lot of that goes back to that quote that you shared. And the one I actually really liked in there, the have fun made sense to me. The build made sense to me. Or what was the first one again? Inspire. But I really liked the build confidence piece, right? Like, how can you build confidence? Like, yes, you need to give people feedback on how to get better, but ultimately, how can you build them up, right? And get them motivated and get them accomplishing things that build confidence in themselves. That's ultimately what attracts people to a strong leader. So I know you've got to run, you've got your earnings call, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time. This was awesome. We're going to have to do it again in another year once you've made more progress. And
Conor, I love chatting with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye, Michelle.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Be a friend, tell a friend, and subscribe. Earned by Creator IQ. Creator IQ is your all-in-one solution to grow, manage, scale, and measure your influencer marketing program. Ready to unlock the power of the creator economy? Get started with a demo today at creatoriq.com.